Hey guys, welcome back to A Page in the Chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige, and today we are talking about the books that I wish I read in 2021. So this is part 2 of this little series that I'm doing. I did books that I'm leaving in 2021 last week, and today we're doing books that I wish I read in 2021. There were so many books that I kept saying I wanted to get to this year and were really important for me to get to, but I just, for some reason or another, didn't manage to get to them. So they are now like big priorities for next year, but also I still don't quite know how it happened. So today we're just going to talk through them. Maybe you'll get some recommendations. Maybe you'll be able to relate to desperately wanting to read a book but still somehow never buying it. And so that is the plan for today. I've got my decaf coffee, I've got my decent sized list of books that I desperately want to read, and I'm ready for the day. If you guys like the sound of this video and you want to stick around and see more, do feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you guys to enjoy. It's just a couple days before Christmas now. How exciting! It's all festive over here, and I would be really grateful if you guys were interested in subscribing. Also, feel free to check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Page and Chapter, where you can just kind of see behind the scenes. You know, you can see what I'm reading as I'm reading it, and you get to see a lot of pictures of my dogs, which are my main selling point. Feel free to do that if you are interested. For now, let's just keep this intro short and sweet and get on into the books. So the first book that I wish I had read in 2021 is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is an enemies to lovers office romance, I believe, and the movie for it has just come out. I don't think it's out in the UK yet, but in America it is, and I've seen really positive reviews for the movie, and so I really wish that I had read this in 2021 before the movie came out. I guess I could probably still find time to read it before it's out in the UK. It's winter time. I don't really see myself reading a contemporary romance at this time of year. So this follows our main characters Lucy and Joshua, and they share an office together and they absolutely hate each other, and it is just one big competition and game of one-upmanship until the possibility for a promotion comes along, and if they win then they will be the boss of the other person. It is about them competing for this promotion, and I guess realising that the chemistry that they've had all along is actually good chemistry and not bad chemistry. It just seems like a really cute, kind of perfect contemporary romance. I have only seen good things about this book. Everybody seems to really enjoy it. And as I said, the movie has been met with some good reviews too, so I would really like to get on the hype for this one. I wish that I had gotten on the hype for this one a long time ago, because it's not a new book. And people have been talking about it for a really long time. I just haven't gotten around to reading it. The next book on this list is Trials of the Four Olympians. And I found this book through a TikTok, and it is an adult version of like Percy Jackson. It is a adventure style Greek myth retellings series, but more aimed at adults. And to be honest, that was kind of all I needed to know from the TikTok. I want to jump like on the bandwagon before it blows up, because I'm sure it inevitably will, or the series gets really long. I want to get on this train now. I also want more Percy Jackson style Greek myth retellings, because whilst I love true to form Greek myth retellings, what I love about Rick Riordan's was that he really made it original. There was so much fantasy to his books, and that's kind of what I want from a Greek myth retelling. I want a more fantasy-esque version, and I think this will be that. And the only real reason that I haven't gotten around to purchasing or reading this one yet is just because I haven't really been in the mood for it. I so badly want to read this book, and to be honest, I've been buying so many books, or I've had so many books bought for me, that there was never really the opportunity to justify reading this one or buying this one, because as badly as I do want to read it, there are others on this list that will come first. This one might take me a little while longer than the others to get to, because it's such a hyper-specific mood, and whilst I have been in these moods before, it just might take me a little while to discover that kind of mood that I want to read a high fantasy Greek myth retelling. We then have The Beautiful, and I want to read this because I want vampires to make a comeback. It's an unpopular opinion. I know everyone else is sick of them. I know it's wrong, but it just feels so right. I want the vampires back, okay? I miss them. I miss that time of life and I want them back. This is a historical fantasy set in New Orleans about our main character, and she's just kind of existing in New Orleans in this time and discovers that it is run by vampires. It feels very similar to the originals, the Vampire Diaries spin-off series, and I think that the originals is the best Vampire Diaries show. Like, I think the originals is better than the Vampire Diaries and every other spin-off show that they've done. When I saw this, I just I had to add it to my want to read. Really, really, really want to get to this one. It is on my year-long want to get to TBR for next year. It's in the reading journal, it's set in stone. I will be getting to this one next year. I'm really excited about it. I hope it lives up to my expectations because it just sounds like everything I want. I miss vampires. I really do. Remember when you used to go on Wattpad as a kid and they would have an actual section for vampires and an actual separate section for werewolves, and you could just go through and find those and it would be separate to fantasy and romance, so you could just find exactly like the vampire stories that you were looking for. That's the kind of time period I miss, when they were such big parts of books and everyone was so excited about them that you could basically just give them their own genre. I miss it. I want it back. I don't care if no one else wants it back. I want it back and I like to get my way. So this is on my list. The next book that I would like to get to is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. And this is kind of a Christmas Carol type of retelling. It follows Holly Chase, who is a real like Scrooge type of character. She is very, very miserable and grumpy and doesn't understand the meaning of Christmas. And she's visited by the ghosts of Christmas and warned to change her ways, but she doesn't listen, and then she dies, and she is stuck in the afterlife as one of the ghosts of Christmas. I believe she's the ghost of Christmas Past, but I could be wrong on that. I just know she works for a company called Scrooge Incorporated or something along those lines, and has to help other people stop being so Scrooge-like. She is always miserable every single Christmas, and her afterlife is very, very sucky. She just watches her family go on without her every single year, and she doesn't ever really learn anything, but in this one particular year everything changes and something happens. I really, really want to get to this book. I know it's like not original in the sense of it's a Christmas Carol retelling. I haven't seen anyone else kind of come up with this idea or do something similar to it. It seems like a really ingenious, fantastical twist on a Christmas classic, and I really, really want to get to this book. However, I can only justify reading it at Christmas, obviously. My TBR was set last Christmas, there was no room in it for this book. And this year, again, there was just no room in my TBR for this book. I have even less time to read this year than last year. I already know that I probably won't complete my December TBR for this year. There's just too much to do and so little time in the day, and there just isn't the time. I also, to be honest, kind of forgot that this book existed until I was going through my Goodreads want to read and my Amazon wishlist, and I remembered that this book exists. And I was like, oh my god, yeah, how could I forget about this book? If I'd remembered in time, then I would have prioritised it and put it on my December TBR for this year. And I'd like to say that for next year I will remember and put it on my December TBR. But let's face it, I will probably forget again by next year. But maybe I can find a kind of themed readathon throughout the year that this book would fit and I can justify reading it in. I'm really, really interested in getting to this book one day. The next book on the list of books that I really wish that I had gotten to this year is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is a series that I have been wanting to start since like 2014. I don't know when they came out, but I know people on booktube have been talking about these books for a really long time. And I've heard such good reviews about them. Even people who don't normally read fantasy I've seen give good reviews for these books, and I really, really want to get to them, but I haven't yet. It's probably a good thing that I haven't yet because, as you guys know, I'm in the middle of so many series. It's really stressing me out, the amount of series that I need to finish. So the first half of next year is going to be a big push to get those finished, and then maybe in the second half of next year I will be able to find time to read this book. But I really, really want to. It sounds right up my alley because it is about death, and it's a kind of Grim Reaper type of retelling. So in the world that this book is set in, there is no poverty, no hunger, no nothing. They've managed to conquer all of humanity's problems, including death. Are they called Scythes? I don't actually know, but these creatures, Scythes, whatever they are are the only ones who can take away life, and they are ordered to do so in order to control the population. And our two main characters are chosen to apprentice a Scythe, but neither of them particularly wants this position, but they have to learn how to be a Scythe or risk losing their own lives in the process. It feels so dystopian, so fantasy, so perfect. It feels like I'm reading about the Grim Reaper in The Sims. It feels like it's adding lore to The Sims. I really, really, really want to start this series. It's taking a lot for me to not go and buy these books and read them, because I know that I have to finish the other books that I have started, but I do really, really, really want to get to this series. And I saved the ones that I most desperately want to get to for last. So these last two are like my high priority books to get to for next year. The first of these is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I can't believe I still haven't read this. I have put this book on so many, like, I'm gonna get to this book, I want to read this book, anticipated releases type of lists this year. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. This is a enemies to lovers high fantasy romance set in Shanghai. It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in Shanghai, influenced by Chinese history and socio-political context. It sounds like everything I want from a fantasy. I love when history comes into fantasies, but particularly social history comes into fantasies, and it's set in a setting that I don't really get to read much of, and I love books that are set outside of the Western world. I really, really, really want to get to this book. I've heard really, really good things. I follow Chloe Gong on TikTok. I just find her very, very inspirational. She does stress me out about my own life though, because we are the same age and she's done a hell of a lot more than me, but it's fine. I just really want to read this book, get on the hype. The reason that I haven't, every single time I have gone book shopping in Waterstones foils, even when I went to the biggest Waterstones in Europe, as they advertise, in Piccadilly, and I went to the massive 5-floor foils in Charing Cross, none of them had this book. It seems almost impossible to find in UK stores. I honestly could not find it. I checked fantasy, I checked YA, I checked YA fantasy. I just couldn't find this book anywhere in London, and it was really, really sad. I know I could just order it online, but it was kind of like one of those books where when I knew I was going to go book shopping, I was like, okay, that's the book that I'm looking for, that's the priority book, and I could just never find it. And then the final book that I desperately wish I had read this year is Gideon the Ninth. This has been top of my priority list for months and months now. I so want to read it. I was looking for it to go on my October TBR. I've heard from like close friends of mine that this book is really good. I know that Sylvie from the TBR Diaries absolutely loves this book series. A third book in this series has just been announced. I really, really want to read these. It speaks to my little bioarchaeology, forensic anthropology heart, okay? So this is about a world where the Emperor needs necromancers. The 9th necromancer needs a swordsman. The blurb is really, really confusing, but I know it's about the dead and swordsman and an adventure and some kind of like competition where when you win you can become an immortal. The one thing that I love about this blurb is that the final sentence is, of course, some things are better left dead. It's about death, okay? It's about death and swordsmanship and fighting, and I'm really, really into this series. I've heard amazing things. I think the covers are beautiful, and I really want to hop on this series. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or if there's going to be more books after that, but I would just like to get on this trend before the third book comes out, get really into them, get obsessed like everyone else is, and just be able to say that I've read them, because I've wanted to for a really long time. I went into Waterstones and I got over my anxiety enough to ask them if they had it. I actually went up to someone and said, hey, can you look up if you have this book for me? That's how badly I wanted it. I spoke to a real person in a store to ask for this book. And because of back in like September, October time when there was those huge like printing delays and publishing delays in the publishing industry and delivery delays, they said that it was out for a reprint and they hadn't received any of it yet and they didn't have any in store. So I couldn't buy it. I figured if it was gone for a reprint then I probably wouldn't be able to find it anywhere, so I gave up, and now I really regret that because I wish that I'd read it. So yeah, this is my #1 book that I wish I'd read this year and my #1 priority book for next year. And so there we have it. There are the books that I really wish that I had read in 2021 I hope that you guys got some recommendations out of this. I hope there are some books in this video that you feel like you would enjoy. I don't think any of them are particularly underground books. You've probably heard of all of them already. Maybe it will remind you that you want to read these and you will go out and instantly buy them and read them and have time to get one of them off your list before the end of 2021, even though the end of 2021 is just around the corner. Oh, scary times. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you to enjoy. I am just so excited about Christmas and so excited to start 2022. I want to start it off right. I want to read the books that I'm excited about. I want 2022 to be my year. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you are having a fantastic week. You are enjoying everything you are reading and there are no reading slumps in your future. And I will see you on Friday for my next video. Bye guys. Merry Christmas.